Hello and welcome. My name is Ethan, aka True Carnivore.
And I am Travis, aka TC Breakdown, and today we're talking about immersion in video games. So, Ethan, what pulls you in the most?
First thing, I think one of the most crucial things is the game type, because the different types of games will really change the style of immersion, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I remember playing times when it was just, you're rolling through the punches in a first person shooter, and then I remember other times where I was playing an open sandbox game or an RPG like Oblivion or Skyrim, and I was way more immersed because you can give the character that you create his own set of morals and ideals and goals aside from what you're actually trying to do.
Yeah, and with a more sandbox style, you feel a little, well, you do feel immersed to a different degree, I would say. It's a different type. Oh, I don't know if I'd say I'm more immersed because, like you said, I'll go with Skyrim or Red Dead, you you have more say in what happens to the character and how they influence the world, which is cool, and it really pulls you in. But with like a game that is linear to a degree, like Halo or Gears of War, they kind of had some choices, but for the most part, it was pretty linear. With that style, the only thing that really pulls you in is really like the fight scenes and stuff. I mean, and that's a different type of immersion, and I honestly don't know which one I prefer more personally.
Yeah, it's a hard choice because I know that there's plenty of shooters that are just, okay, but then there's shooters like Halo that they're so epic.
Yeah, which I think that will tie into the next thing that I was going to talk about, which would the storyline and the character building, which really is why first-person shooter styles or third-person shooters, anything like that, with a more linear style campaign, the reason they are immersive is you really fall in love with those characters because they are the only ones that you ever talk to or ever do anything with, really. If you're constantly interacting with the same people, doing stuff with them throughout the entire campaign, then you really get attached to them more than, say, in a sandbox world where you may have one companion or something, and then everybody else is new faces all over the place.
Yeah, and immersion with first-person shooters is kind of hit or miss. You kind of either like it or you don't like it, and that kind of determines how into it you are. Like, I'm not really a big Call of Duty fan, so when I play the campaigns, I'm never really as immersed as I am when I play the Halo campaigns.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I love the multiplayer for Battlefield, but I just wasn't crazy about the campaigns because it just didn't do it for me. So I
Yeah,
see
I'm
the same
not.
thing.
Yeah, I haven't even played the Battlefield 3 campaign yet,
Me either.
and it's been out for how long?
Yeah, I'm a
Like
grade 3 colonel and I haven't
yeah,
played the campaign.
yep,
Or grade 13. Oh god. Um, but like I said, with character building, that's a huge part of it. Like when you follow someone from their start to way deep into the storyline, that's really for both styles, and also for one type that we didn't talk about would be like a MMO, like the massive multiplayer, which like I've never really played. I played like Trials because I'm not gonna pay the $15 a month, but for like World of
yep.
Warcraft and stuff like that, you have your one character and you are in charge of absolutely everything. So I would say that the character building is the most crucial, but building your own character, not watching the character progress, but doing it yourself, I think is probably the most influential part of a game of that type.
Well, I would say for an MMO, the part that would be most immersive would be like leveling up, but not. There's not a lot of character building in those. I don't think. I think a lot of it is more how much time you spend on it and
Okay,
how you level your character.
I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay, then um, another thing which is kind of well, it's something that everybody overlooks really, unless you really pay attention for it, which is the music. And
Yeah.
it,
Music isn't really a make or break thing, but it's kind of if it's great, you notice it. If it's just there, you're not gonna notice it.
It can make or break for me because if it's a crappy music and it's supposed to be an epic moment, and then I just get totally thrown out of whack and I don't even want to do it anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. But most games don't have terrible music. If it's, I'd say it's either good, great, or mediocre. I've never heard a game where it's like terrible.
I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but I'm sure I've had it happen. But I know what you mean. Usually, yeah, when it's extremely epic, you feel it. You feel the moment. You're like, you're in it. You're living it. But
Yeah, you're in it.
when it's mediocre, then it's just like, okay, awesome. That was cool. Um, yeah, I think that ties into gameplay, which would be the next one.
Yeah. Gameplay is pretty self-explanatory. It's obviously hit or miss. You're not going to play a game with shitty mechanics or, shitty levels or shitty weapons or anything like that. You're just not going to do it.
Yeah, and that this is one of those that's you either. I think it's love it or leave it. There's not a lot of middle area for
Yeah, there's
gameplay.
not a whole ton of like middle ground. I know I don't like the Call of Duty series for, I wouldn't say it's controls or anything like that, but definitely it's multiplayer gameplay on these newer ones like MW2, MW3. I don't like how the multiplayer operates, but I could talk about that for half an hour, so I'm just going to move on.
Yeah, and the immersion factor with gameplay is a big part of it because if the controls are smooth and the characters move smoothly and you transition from one area to another with ease and everything feels like it's going well, then you're pretty immersed. But if things are like jumpy or if there's a lot of loading screens and that kind of crap,
Yeah,
then
if there's a lot of render problems, I know that can take you out of it when you're supposed to be seeing a big, open, expansive area and you're only seeing 8 steps in front of you, and every time you take another step, it renders a little bit more.
yeah, that's crap. Oh, that's just crap. And that's happened a lot, and that pulls me out so fast.
Yeah. And that does happen on Xbox too. You'll be playing and you'll spin around and you'll see the texture and then you'll see the frame and then you'll see the render and it'll be fully rendered by that time and you're just like, well, that was cool, but actually it was terrible.
Yeah. Oh man. So I'm gonna tie that into the next thing that I think is pretty important. It's the uh, the graphics. I want to do that next because for me, I'm a huge graphics have to be top notch. I absolutely love graphics. I know it's kind of like I don't know. It makes me seem a little judgmental of it, but at the same time, I have high expectations for next generation games. And when a next gen game releases with last gen's graphics, no matter how good the storyline and character building is, I'm pulled out of it, and I don't have the same immersion effect. But that's just me.
Yeah, see, I'm not the same way. Like, I'm pretty lenient on the graphics. I know people complained about the Fallout New Vegas graphics. I never really cared. Um, and I know, like, I'd say that some of the old games, Super Nintendo games like Secret of Mana, is way more immersive than most games that are released today. So I really don't give a shit about graphics.
Yep, that's where we vary pretty strongly.
Yeah.
Uh, which the graphics also tie into the cinematic trailers, which I've played some games where the campaign was like, and then the cinematics were like, holy freaking balls, that is amazing. Like,
Yeah, like cinematics really serve to just keep you on the edge of your seat. Like the Halo 3 cinematics, they did great. They were great cinematics, and they were placed at perfect intervals to where if at any point you were kind of slouching off or you were losing interest, the cinematics would pull you right back in.
mm-hmm. And I've played games where I can think of an example of good cinematics and bad cinematics. Good cinematics, StarCraft 2. I thought I was going to crap my pants when I was watching those cinematics. Absolutely, like, oh man, but Blizzard, they do things over the top, which is amazing. But bad was Gears of War 3. Whenever I played it, I didn't watch but 2 cinematic trailers throughout the entire damn storyline because I didn't care. I didn't care at all. I watched like the first ones and I was like, man, this just sucks. And I just wanted to beat through the campaign to get the achievements, man. It was sad. And I was kind of upset because I enjoyed the Gears series, but then I just lost complete interest in the third one, like partway through the campaign.
Yeah. Speaking of skipping cutscenes, this is completely and utterly unrelated, but I know people are gonna sympathize with me here. If you're playing an epic game and your friend comes over and you're like, "Oh, okay, here, you can play this game." And he skips the cinematic trailers and you're trying to get him to watch it, but you're not telling him to watch it, you're just kind of hoping he does and he skips them. It makes you want to punch him in the fucking face.
Yeah, I don't have that problem because when people come over, I'm like, bitch, we'll do something else. Especially if I'm like if I'm in the middle of an epic storyline or something that I want to do, then I'll just say let's do something else. Because I mean, if I'm immersed, I don't want to get drawn out.
Yeah, it just bothers me when people play the game for no other reason than to play the game.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
There's so much more you can get out of a good game with good music, gameplay, cinematics, graphics, all that stuff, than just playing the game.
Yeah, but that's the game. That's up to the game, not necessarily you. Like I said, I played games where I would like I would wait for it and I'd just be excited for a cutscene, and then I played other games where it's like, you know, I'm slamming the A button so hard I think it's
Yeah,
gonna
you're like,
explode.
oh fuck, another cutscene.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and that's another thing. Number of cutscenes and quality is a huge factor because if they're crappy quality and they're every 5 fucking feet, then it sucks. But if you've got like,
there's a good example of that in Final Fantasy 13 at the beginning. There's no way you can really be immersed because it's like you're half fucking watching a movie, except they're little short clips. They're like 2 seconds at a time. So you're like, oh, a cutscene. You put your controller down, and by the time you do that, you have to pick it up again, and it's annoying.
yeah, and I don't know why they would think that's a good idea. I don't
I don't know
understand.
either. It's either you make good quality, um, good length cutscenes at good intervals. You don't have to overdo it.
Yeah,
But then on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have Metal Gear Solid 4, which is a lot of cutscenes. It has hours and hours of cutscenes, and people love it. And it's because they're not short; they're long. So it's
uh,
either have long ones, but just don't have short ones that are like crammed together.
yeah, and it really helps if the long ones explain some of the storyline that you necessarily can't do with gameplay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
on to the last thing is sequels and the series overall.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of tying in with, like, whenever I was talking about Gears of War, because I was saying with the first one and the second one, I enjoyed the campaigns very much, but the third one, it killed it for me, which is kind of, that happens in series. Whenever you're playing a series, they can do a great job, then they can do crappy, or the opposite of the way around. Or sometimes they can totally throw a loop and completely change up the fucking campaign on you, and you just get completely lost.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that is definitely make or break.
Yeah. It can happen, and it's happened before. Like I was talking about in Gears, and there's been good series and bad series. Like Halo 3, great. ODST, they changed it up, and I understood, and I accepted it, and I enjoyed it for what it was. And then
Yeah, it was
Reach,
it
I was
was
like,
okay. It
fuck
definitely
me.
could have been better. And then yeah, fuck Reach.
It was just like, what the hell happened to my baby? I was like, I loved this game so much, and then they just crapped it.
All Reach was a big who can die in the most fucking like depressing way.
Yeah, yep. So I think that pretty much covers immersion.
Yeah, tell us what you think.
Yeah,
What's the best? What's the most immersive factor for you?
yeah, let us know. And also, if you have any ideas for next topics, let us know because we're always looking for stuff.
Yep.
So, thanks for listening.
See you guys again.